am Dr. B. Vinmayil to tell the story which I read to you all. Girish Karnad, he is the most famous playwright in Indian writing in English. He is a multifaceted, post-independent playwright. His plays mostly deal with myth, history, folklore, and effectively he portrays the contemporary urban life. He belongs to Karnataka and his plays can be categorized into 4 themes. The first one, he humanized myths. That means the mythological stories which are mostly filled with fantasy elements and unrealistic things. He adds to those stories the humanistic aspects. Those attributes are used to deal with interpersonal relationships. And 3 of his poems fall under this category. They are Yayadi, the fire and the rain, and Bali. Secondly, he deals with the historical elements and blend them with some fictional elements. So, he tries to blur the division between history and fiction. His plays like Tughlaq, Danda, The Dreams of Tipu Sultan are wonderful examples of historical drama. Thirdly, we have folk culture. Yes, he used the folk tales to portray the power of women to control their own fate. Women are suppressive in contemporary age, but in the folk tales or the oral traditions, they were portrayed as powerful characters. Girish Karnad has taken those characters and presented them as if they are the supreme power to change their fate or destiny. In Hayavadana and Nagamandala, we could see powerful women characters. Fourthly, we have plays which focus on rural freedom as well as the urban dystopia. He presents a contrast view between the people who live in rural background and with the urban background. And these plays like Broken Images, Wedding Album, Boiled Beans on Toast deal with the contrasting life the people lead in the rural and urban cities. His excellence as a playwright is exhibited in the way he handled the dramatic devices. He is mainly known for his folk culture, folklore and folk theatre. So, the folk theatre devices he used in his plays encompassing covers and dolls and lights, blinds, chorales, and there will be an observer when there is a storyteller, and there will be a story within a story, and most importantly some participants of the heavenly components. The government has bestowed him with too many prestigious awards such as Jnanapith Award, Sahitya Akademi Award, Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan awards. Let us see about his play Nagamandala. It is his 3rd play and it was originally written in Kannada and later on it was translated by Karnad himself into English. It focuses on the feminist themes and it criticizes and it acts as a critic of male chauvinism and patriarchal society. It was written by Karnad after listening to 2 folk tales narrated by his mentor Eka Ramanujan, and those 2 tales are The Story and the Song and The Serpent Lover. A.K. Ramanujan is his only mentor and who has shared these 2 stories. When Karnad was living in US, he has written these 2 stories, and these 2 oral tradition These two stories under oral tradition are used by Karnad to address the contemporary social issues. So, this first story, the story and song was originally uttered by a male coat and shoes. But Karnad has transformed this story narrated by the story and song into a female sari and a song. And here there is a gender subversion. He challenged every male chauvinism in this play, and this is the story narrated by a woman who has suppressed all her untold stories. And using myths and legends, Karnad is good at highlighting the social burning issues. Let us see the characters one by one. We are first introduced to the narrator and some chorus. Yes, of course, as in the folklore or folk theatre, we are having a narrator as well as chorus, but they are in some other forms, not directly they are mentioned as narrator or chorus. And we are first introduced to a ruined temple where a man who is a playwright sitting there and trying to sleep, and he heard some noises, and there assembled a group of flames. Yes, of course, flames, they are going to be the passive listeners of the story, and they act as the chorus, which we can see in Greek theatres. And these flames are presented as women, and there is a doubt that why they are given a female voice, because they used to gossip about the events that happened at their homes. And here also we could see flames out of kerosene lamp, flames out of castor oil lamp, which show the class disparity that prevails in villages. These flames are none but the lamps which are put off after the night. They just assembled in the ruined temple and discuss about what is happening in the society or in the village. They just shared everyday events with other flames, and through those dialogues we easily understand these flames observe whatever is happening to the family members. They are part of the family members. Mostly they seem to be gossiping about the events that happened in the family. And through those events, we the audience can learn how gender disparity and class disparity prevail deeply in the culture of the village people. And moreover, it acts as a Kada Kalakshivam, because along with the flame there was one story and the song. In one of the household there was a woman who was very much suspicious of her husband, and she thought that her husband is having an affair. She is an old woman, she is about 70, and her husband is elder to her, but even though she had a suspicion about her husband's behavior, and she tries to trace the woman behind her husband, and when later on she found that it was the woman who took the form of a sari and a song, but she is none but the suppressed or hidden story of the old woman herself. So we understood that Karnad has given a chance to a woman to narrate her own hidden story. Here, in the original folktale story and the song, the man used to narrate a story, but here we see it is the woman who is going to narrate her own untold story. And when the story is narrating, the flames are all observing, and the flames are also asking questions. They are all the passive listeners sometimes, and they are all the active listeners sometimes. The man has a unique story also. Therefore, Karnad has used a different narrative or dramatic device, which is nothing but story within the story or play within the play. Here we have a separate play or a background for a man. He is a playwright. He is narrating his own story. He got a curse because of his poor plays. People who come as audience to witness his play sleep. So these honest or high class people curse him to meet his death in this month. But he has one excuse. If he would awake for the whole night, he could escape death. If he couldn't awake for the whole night, he would meet his death at the end of this month. So it is a separate story behind the playwright. Here also, it is a critique of the drama or the dramatist himself. The drama should not make the audience to sleep. So as he makes his audience to sleep, he has to awake for the whole night. It was the only solution to escape or to redeem his curse. So the man decides to listen to the story and the song. This was the first part. It is the prologue of the play. And then we are having the main protagonist, Rani. Her metamorphosis or her transformation from innocent submissive wife to an young wife, exploring all her inner desires including the sexual wishes and whims, and later on becoming an assertive and self-reliant mother is the whole story. The whole story is woven around her transformation of these three phases. And she is married to a neglectful and unfaithful husband named Appanna, and she experiences profound loneliness as he locked her up inside the home from the day she was brought to his home. It is a child marriage. After Rani attained her puberty, she was taken from her family and she was kept at the village of Appanna. There he locked her up and he just instructed not to ask any questions and do what he says. And it is Rani's duty to cook for him, to keep the house neat, and it is more and more like a prison to her. She should not peep at the window, she should not come out because the lock will be closed outside the door. And she could not even open the latch. And it was so painful for her because she used to sleep along with her parents. At home, she couldn't meet Appanna at night. So she has to endure the nights, dangerous, lonely and very frightful nights without anyone to talk to her, without anyone to accompany her. And it was a painful period she has to go across as a innocent submissive wife. And she encounters a mysterious snake, Naga, in the form of Appanna. This is going to change the entire story and entire life of Rani. There she becomes a young woman catering to the needs of her own body and her own mind as a lovable wife to her husband, because the Naga takes up the image of Appanna. So she has no barrier or restriction to yield to the words as well as the actions of Naga, who comes in the disguise of Appanna. And come to Appanna. Appanna in Kannada means any man. So Karnad purposely names every character with some archetypal image. Here Rani, who is a queen at her mother's home, is more like a slave to Appanna, the one who represents patriarchy. And Appanna is an indifferent husband to Rani because he has an affair with some other woman in the village. And so he confines her to the house. So if she comes out, she would find his own illicit relationship, and she visits only for meals and spends nights with the woman, and it reflects a patriarchal mindset. She considers Rani not even as a human being. This subhuman being treatment of Rani is more prevalent in many villages even nowadays. And Aparna just considers her not even as a woman, just as an object at home. He keeps her at home just because he married her earlier at his childhood, and he locks her up, and she is just like a maid, just like an object to be preserved by him. And Aparna stands for the theme of fidelity. And through his character, Karnad questions the patriarchy. Aparna's infidelity is nowhere questioned by anyone in the play, whereas Rani's pregnancy with Naga was questioned by the elders just because Aparna has filed a complaint against her chastity. So Rani has to undergo a test of chastity just because Aparna has filed it against the elders in the village. And in the Panchayat, she undergoes the test of chastity by holding the cobra. And now comes the important character Naga, whose role has entirely changed the life of Rani as well as the entire plot. And he is a supernatural element in the play, and his surrealistic character of changing himself into a human being or any other form he wishes to. So this attribute of this cobra gives a chance to transforms or metamorphoses into Aparna. He highlights the theme of fantasy as well as reality. He is presented as a contrast to Aparna. The love for Rani to Naga is something very precious, whereas Aparna didn't even consider Rani as a human being. Naga worships her. Naga adores her beauty, adores her tresses, which runs long. So he acts as a catalyst for the transformation of both Rani's as well as Aparna's character. He makes Rani and Aparna to realize their self and live their happy married life. So he acts as both a deceiver as well as benefactor for the play. He cheats Aparna, he cheats Rani, but at the same time, in the play himself has once said, I gave everything to her. I gave her baby, I gave her husband, I gave her home, and as well as I gave her maid. So he is the only person who can be a benefactor to the life of Rani. Later on, we have two more characters who act in the subplot. The subplot also more or less similar to the main plot. Here we have Gurudeva, the blind woman. Gurudeva means blind woman who is blind towards the patriarchy and the patriarchal exercises which exploit innocent women like Rani. Okay, Gurudeva is also having a separate story for her as a woman, and when she could not have baby, she uses a magic root which was given by a saint or hermit, and she shared that as a blind woman she couldn't get anyone to be close, but that using that magical root she got a baby, and this magic root has a magical power to seduce a man. This magical root was used by Rani to seduce her husband. Twice she tried to seduce him. At first time it was so sour, but he drank that food, but he fell unconscious. So Rani was afraid of using that magic root, but after insisted by Gurudeva, she once again tried it, but without her conscience pricks her, so she avoids using it, and she poured it into the ant hill near her home, and there resides the Naga. Through Gurudeva, Naga comes into the life of Rani. So Gurudeva's well-wish for Rani brought Naga to her life, and Naga, which drinks the curry prepared by Rani along with the magic root, makes the Naga to fall in love with Rani. So everything is a surrealistic one, which we could not accept in real life. Everything is based on the fantasy, and Gurudeva is symbolizing the pragmatic and resourceful thing elder woman who is living in village used to have, and her son Kappanna used to carry her. Kappanna stands for the darkest side of the life, so his name means the dark one. Kappanna has a separate story. It's the subplot which also has an association with the main plot. Here also Kappanna was seduced by a Yakshaha, a snake woman, and he was taken away by her, leaving Gurudeva alone, without eyes and without her acting as her son. She is going to lead a pathetic life, and come to the title Nagamandala. Naga stands for snake. Mandala means circle in Sanskrit. We all know that for any magical purpose also we used to draw a circle. So it is a geometric design which is usually circular. It symbolizes universe also, and in Hinduism as well as in Buddhism, people use it to relate this with meditation, and in magic also it stands for some protection. So Naga, who protects Rani's life, and Karnad himself has says it is a play with cobra. And here also there is a reference of how this Naga's world, Naga's circle protects Rani, the smell of the blossoming night queen. Whenever Naga enters into the bedroom of Rani, there you can see the blossoms of the night queen, and Rani enjoys her house filling with this fragrance before Naga visits her, and she feels that being the cobra, the king cobra, it is a kind of welcome to her. It takes her, it sets each fiber in her on fire. Here the innocent child or innocent girl becomes a woman with the presence of Naga. Let us see the plot and other things in the next video. Thank you for your patience listening.